Reports say an extension could be on the horizon for goalie Joseph Woll as former NHLer Marc Savard rounds out Craig Berube's coaching staff. Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan. And guys, we're inching closer towards free agency on July 1, and it'll be interesting to see who the Maple Leafs spend their cap space on. But according to one report from Kevin Weeks, the Leafs are close to signing Joseph Woll to a 3-year extension with an AAV between $3.5 to $4 million. Lance, do you think this is a good bet on a player that has dealt with some significant injuries so far in his career?
Well, Terry wrote a pretty good story a couple of days ago about that situation and the trust level the Leafs have in Woll. I mean, he is an injury risk, and let's face it, the Leafs have not fared well with a goalie like Ian Scott, who was they also had a lot of hope in, and they and Woll was drafted I think the year before and failed to match at that stage what was some big expectations. So I think the inability to draft a goalie in-house is over the last few years is important. I mean, there was a taste with James Reimer. I really like Joseph Woll when he has stayed healthy, but they've also let guys like Tuukka Rask go and that kind of thing. And I think the story is going to come down to Terry sort of alluded to the story. Who is going to be the other goalie who can step in right away? I mean, is it going to be Samsonov at a good price? Is it Dennis Hildeby's chance to do what Felix Potvin did a few years ago, or is it going to be like a Mr. X who came out of nowhere, like a Martin Jones to help out last season? So it is going to be interesting that they have are ready to commit to Joseph Woll. Now they got to cross their fingers health wise.
Yeah, is a bit of a risk, I guess, only with the injury history, right? Because you look at it and say, well, he is going to be restricted next year. You don't have to do this right away. But, the Leafs kind of get ahead of it. And if Woll stays healthy for the coming season and does well, already the contract looks really good for the Leafs because, if he develops into what they think he can, i.e. a number one goalie, at some point during this contract, he'll be worth more than $3.5 to $4 million a year, provided the health is intact. So, like Lance said, when he's been in there, he's been good. And that is the convincing factor here, I think, for the Leafs to get something done early. And, then you just keep your fingers crossed that they're able to get past it, the injury things. And, Brad Treliving said at the exit meeting, guys, just, not maybe about a month and a half ago now, in the first week of May, second week of May, like, we have to do a deep dive into why this is happening. And perhaps that here we are now coming to the end of June, that they've, some of their research, if you will, into Woll and his history trouble, they've seen some positives out of it. So, based on how he's played, I think it's fine. The extension is fine. Like Lance says, now what do they do with another goaltender? But they really do think they have their guy. And the other thing is, too, is obviously if he's going to get this contract now at between 3.5 and 4, kicking in the season after this one, then they're not necessarily looking for that big fish guy who's going to make $7 or $8 million in goal. This is going to be their guy going forward, and we'll see how it goes. But overall, I don't think it should be a real issue for them.
Just to pick up on one thing Terry said really quickly is, how many times have you heard the words Leafs and good contract in the same sentence?
Not many.
Yeah. Slowly but surely, guys, Craig Berube is filling out his coaching staff, former NHLer, and one-time Maple Leafs radio post-game analyst Marc Savard has joined the Leafs as an assistant. Terry, what do you think his role will be on the club?
Well, you're talking about an addition of a guy who played 800 games in the NHL and it's 700 points. So he'll be, presumably in charge of the forwards and, of course, the power play, which he has run in both St. Louis and in Calgary. Differing degrees of success in those two places when Marc Savard was running the power play as an assistant coach. But so that's what we're looking at here. Bring that expertise you had as a forward whose career was cut short, as we know, because of concussion issues and probably would have played more than he wound up playing, of course. And I think it's a good ad. It's a rumor, one that's been rumored for a while. What I think is a little interesting too about the staff as a whole, and it's a little more streamlined than what Sheldon Keefe had. Three went out in Malhotra, Chanuth, and Boucher, and just the two come in, and Savard and Lane Lambert. So a little more streamlined with Craig Berube running the show, but I would think that Marc Savard will get to know the Austin Matthews and William Nylanders of the world quite well in the not only over the summer, of course, once the season starts as well.
Well, let's come out and say it. How could you not have a good power play with the names Terry just mentioned and the five they could put out there? Of course, they're missing the cannon shot, and maybe that develops in some way over the next couple of years. But that's been the missing link there. And Savard, as Terry said, differing degrees of success in Calgary. But even though they finished 26th overall, the people there say with very much a no-name power play, kind of making it up as they went along at the end of the year, they looked pretty good, and he's had success in that area. So it will be interesting to see if he can unlock, which should be a no-brainer, and that's getting the Leafs close to back to number one. Let's remember it was kind of an aberration last year. They had been pretty close. Up to then, and when you got the league leading scorer, you better take advantage of him.
Yeah, well, ultimately, it's about getting that power play to work in the playoffs, which has been an issue for many, many years. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.